Yeah, yeah.
Give your hand over. So good afternoon. Um, Today is an important day for all of us. We are starting a new subject. Till now we have covered a little bit of marketing, a little bit of economics, and today we will be joining with the HRM faculty. And let me have the pleasure of introducing Professor Gundurov. He is a doctorate in chemistry, and but he has spent his working life dealing with HR functions. And the one thing which I should mention to all of you is that he is our one of the best resource persons we have got, and he has got a very good feedback from user-friendly professor. He has got that. He is very accommodative, very helpful, very open, and so he is HR lead for this program. And I welcome you to this program, sir. Thank you. And I have requested him to give a solid grounding to become general managers. As you know, the course is titled as Executive General Management course. So he was a general manager. He has seen throughout his career how top leaders think and act. In fact, he's got a specialized module called Leadership Training Program, which was very well received, and it will be a further takeoff from this basic program. So our ambition is to make all of you leaders. Okay, he is going to dwell on that leadership styles. What is the difference between a manager and a leader? All these things will come in future. But our main objective is to develop all of you as general managers and CEOs of the company, so that we will set a high agenda. Higher the agenda, better for all of us. And coming to other side of the participants, they all have been handpicked for the desire to learn the subject. The main common factor for all of them is they have unfulfilled desire. That unfulfilled desire is about they want to make a mark in their career. And they are all mostly from engineering background. We have one exception in the form of the staff who joined the group. And they all expressed me individually that they have to overcome the career stagnation. Second thing is they want to become familiar with the concepts of the management, because they are all isolated working. They work in their own domains. But when they are exposed to general management conditions, like a discussion in a boardroom, or a project meeting, or interacting with a foreign client, suppose they throw up some jargons, they should not get taken aback. So our idea is that we will give them at least 100 HRM concepts, so that in any HRM meeting, they should be able to participate equivalent to any MBA HR of full time. That is our goal. So that when they sit in a boardroom discussion, if any HR topic comes to them, they should be confident to understand what the other person is talking and intervene at the right place. So that is the task I have of you, sir. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. It's really a pleasure to be here with you. So, if it's okay, GNV, I'm going to ask for a quick introduction.
Fine.
So, state your name, organization that you work for, and let me ask the same question as GNV asked you again. Why are you here? Yep. So, which end shall we start?
I am Anil Kumar. I am working for Cisco Videos Technologies, which is an outer ring of near Bangalore. So yes, I want to, as GNV has said, so I want to move a step above on the ladder to overcome the current stagnation, the middle management to higher levels. So I just want to know that now we just give a way to the youngsters and be a mentor and handle the management functions.
Yep.
That's what the main objective we take away from this course.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kumar. I'm in the IT industry last 10 years. I work in a startup company. So my goal was to I joined startup company because I want to learn how to things work in a startup so that I can start something of my own. Plus understanding like all the management like concepts basically. Sometimes if I read some newspaper, there are a lot of terms they mention and it's like very difficult to go through it. So that's the reason I want to understand one thing and
Alright, welcome.
My name is Jay Shekhar. The purpose of this course, I work for MySys software company, that is banking products. Now I want to change, that is one thing. The second thing, the reason I joined here is just to, I have plans to start my own after 5 years down the line. 5 years I fixed on the timeline. So before that I'll be working. So I already done all the lead roles. But the jargons on the management side, I was not lacking a bit. I thought, okay, this will help me.
Alright, good, thanks.
I'm Madhu and I've been in IT for the last 12 years or something, 12 plus. Apart from that, overall it's 14 years of experience. I'm trying to push myself from being a technical expert to something more than that. But it was quite elusive till now, at least for the last 4 years. So I think the motivation is JNB, who was asked me to just come around this, well set these things right. So that is one of the reasons that I'm here. That's the true reason. Me being here actually.
Good afternoon, I'm Dr. Nitish. I'm a general practitioner and I have a clinic of my own and hoping to start a business or something to do with research, and I have other plans also.
Yeah.
But right now, as a doctor, you're not exposed to the management aspect of business, and you don't have not only the jargon, but also you don't have the opening to understand what business aspects are. So I've come here to learn that, and I hope that Professor GNB is always with us, as with Dr. Gundurao. So I just hope to contribute and learn from his experience.
Thanks.
Excellent.
My name is Arun Kumar. So I have been working for 12 years. Right now I am working for Optosync Semiconductors. So by and large in the electronics and communication software is what I am doing. So why I am here is at some point I used to be an entrepreneur. So and I hope this course gives me the necessary confidence.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Anil Amjad. I have been in this IT industry for the past 9 years and mainly worked in embedded domain and telecom domain. The reason why I am here is every 3 years you will get recession and you have to go for job change and all this. So I want to really learn all the general management techniques, course and all this. So after some point of time I want to go to Gulf, settle down as a manager. The second option is my relatives have good amount of money. They want to invest in my hometown. So they are looking for a leader. So I want to be the leader.
Very good.
Hi, I'm Pramod Vaswat. I have around 10 years of experience in IT industry. Currently, I'm working for Synchronous Technologies. So I have been till now I'm like a technical role. So there are a lot of in the future like I would like to prepare myself for like next level of roles, like whatever kind of lead level roles and managerial level roles. So I've been looking around for MBA and all stuff. So when I'm in touch with JNB sir, so he motivated me to how to take the things ahead, and then this is the right time that I think we should go ahead and learn some managerial part of things. So it will help my career too.
Sure, thank you very much for introducing yourself. One of the things that I need to state here is just, although people say this guy is going to teach HRM, I want to go beyond HRM. HRM is nothing but human resource management. How do you manage the resources, human resources within an organization? At the end of the 30 hours, definitely you will be enriched with various HRM concepts. There is no doubt about it. But my interest doesn't stop there. My interest goes beyond that. It's important for each one of us to take this opportunity of being an entrepreneur, starting your own organization. Isn't it fun? Isn't it exciting to think about something big like that? So HRM is just a part of running an organization, but it's an extremely important part. And I'm going to kind of give you a very general context setting before getting into the topic of our discussion. We all work for organizations. How does an organization start?
People.
Yeah, who starts an organization? It's people don't start the organization. People don't start. Who starts an organization? Huh? Yeah, it's an individual. An individual or a few individuals.
Their interest made them to start.
That's correct. For example, take Infosys as an example. Probably the best example that we can think of in terms of the value they have created for the shareholders. 9 or 10 of them working for Patni Computers split and wanted to start an organization. And they realized there is a potential in the market for the kind of services they can offer. So an individual or a group of individuals start an organization. And they start an organization with an idea. What is that idea? It could be a product, it could be a service. Isn't it? Can you think of any other thing? It's a product or a service. It could be a hardware or a software or service, offering service. Right? So an individual or a group of individuals start the organization with an idea of a product or a service. Now, they are hoping to create value by selling that product or service to customers. So what does that mean? What is the first thing that this group of people need to do? Have an idea, of course. After that, what they need to do?
What is the product? What is the service they have to decide?
They need to find a customer, isn't it? You need to remember this name. There is a gentleman by name Peter Drucker. We are going to refer to this name quite often. Peter Drucker is said to be the modern management guru. And if you Google Peter Drucker, you will get enormous amount of information about Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker said once, what is the purpose of any organization? He said the purpose of any organization is to find a customer. That's the only purpose. If you don't have a customer, you don't have an organization, isn't it? So, an individual or a group of individuals with an idea of a product or a service start an organization and they hope to find a customer who is willing to buy their product or service, and they are hoping to make some money out of it. Is it not? That's the starting point. Now, the idea is there. It could be a product or a service, and they want to make more of it, so that they can serve more customers, so they can get more money, isn't it? So now, how do they convert that idea into a saleable product or service? Is the next thing, is it not? So if it is a product, like for example this hardware, you need to have what do you need to have? Yeah, we need to have a design, etc. You need to have the raw materials. You need to have the machinery and people who run the machinery to make these products. Just making is not sufficient. What else you need to do?
Distributor.
Yeah, you need to do the quality control, you need to distribute it, you need to market it, yeah, you ultimately reach the customer. Customer will buy it, and you need to collect the money from the customer. And then of course, service the customer so that the customer does not have any issues with the product or service that you sell. You see the complexity is growing, starting with an idea. It is becoming bigger and bigger if you want to make it big as an organization. So you need people to, you need the infrastructure to make these things. So for that you need to manage your raw materials. You need to buy the raw material. You need to convert that into finished product. Isn't? You need money for that. And the money that you have will buy you certain raw materials. And you need to convert it into final product. You need to pay salary for people to doing it. Remember, it has not yet reached the customer. The product has not yet reached the customer, but even before it reaches the customer, the expenditure that is incurred are enormous. So more money is required. Your sponsors would probably look at all these aspects before they decide to pay you money. So the money is flowed in, and all the activities take place. And once the activities take place, you make more of the product or the service and then sell it to the customer. Even to sell, you need people to sell. You need sales people to sell. You need customer service to people to offer services. So now you see the gamut of complexity that's in front of you as an entrepreneur. So you need to manage so many things, is it not? And if you were to look at before probably 1960 or 1970, if you were to look at an organization and find out to what is the value of that organization, how much that organization is worth. Let's say you want to buy an organization like the one that we just described. Now, as an outsider, you want to buy that organization. How do you value the organization? Is it not? You value the organization. Like you buy a car, you value a car before you buy it. You value an organization. So what are the various things that you look? How do you value an organization? Yeah. So what are the things that you look for in an organization and attach value to that? What are the various things?
What is the talent pool?
Is it the talent pool? 1990 manufacturing units. Think about it. It is the land that you have, land you have, the assets you have. There are two types of assets. One is tangible assets, intangible assets. What is tangible asset? One that you can touch and feel. Touch and feel is a tangible asset. This is a tangible asset. You can touch and feel this computer, right? Whereas a Microsoft Office, MS Office, is intangible because you can't touch and feel. You can only see certain actions being taken place. And he used the word talent, talent of people. That's intangible. You can't touch and feel that, right? But you can create value using that. You can create a software program and then sell it to people, and people will pay you for that. It creates value, but you can't touch and feel. So in any organization, there are two kinds of assets, tangible assets and intangible assets. Tangible assets are all like land, machinery, the raw materials that you have, the inventory that you have, they're all called tangible assets. Intangible assets are what? One is talent, anything else intangible?
Intellect. Intellectual.
Yeah, IP, intellectual property. Brand value,
Research.
no, research leads to certain development of certain processes, etc. The know-how. It's not the research; it is the know-how that is that has value. If you take, you must have used Dettol. Dettol liquid, have you used?
Yes.
Now, if you take Dettol liquid, what does Dettol liquid do? It is a antiseptic liquid. It is supposed to cure any cuts or injuries that you have. Now, the the same liquid that is there, which is called Dettol liquid, you make the same liquid with the same formulation, doing exactly the same thing as Dettol, and then put another label to that, a different label, call it Pitol, and then try and sell it to the customer. The customer is willing to pay premium for Dettol and not so much premium for the other product. So this is called brand value. The brand value of a product that you have. If, for example, Dell, the same function is performed by many hardware, but Dell has a command set premium. Why? The name itself has a value. That's the brand value. So brand value is also a intangible asset. Are you with me? Goodwill is an intangible asset. You must have heard of the word goodwill. Is an intangible asset. Patents are intangible assets. So there are two different types of assets, tangible and intangible. Now, before 1990, if you were to value an organization for buying it, the proportion of tangible to intangible assets, right? So tangible assets, intangible assets, if you were to evaluate it before 1990, the tangible assets was 85% of the valuation of any organization. The intangible assets were valued at only 15%. That is the valuation given to intangible assets in organizations before 1990. Today, if you take the present day, 2014, the scenario has completely reversed. Now, tangible assets is approximately 15% and the balance is 85%. Particularly in some of the IT and IT sector, IT services companies. Take Infosys, for example. What is the tangible assets that they have? They may have a land, they may have some buildings, and they may have some equipment like this. Is it not? And if anybody were to buy Infosys, they won't pay much for any of these things. What they would pay is for the intangible things like the brand value, like the talent that they have, like the skill sets that they have, intangible assets, which is more coming from people, from human beings. So intangible asset valuation is much higher in the present day. So what does that mean to you as a CEO prior to 1990 and now? Tell me.
It is could be only applicable on the services side, right? Because IT is a game changer. I mean, there everything is human brain. The human brain counts, nothing else. I mean, if I get trained, I can work on a software and I can make profit for the company.
Yeah.
But the other things stays the same, right? I mean, the product maybe Dettol, the tangible asset will be 85%.
No, this is what I said. You can, I mean, I can give you the formula of Dettol today. I work for that company. I can give you the formula of Dettol. You can make the same solution as effective as Dettol.
Competition.
But if you want to sell it, not competition, if you want to sell it in the market, you can't sell it as Dettol. You have to sell it as something else. So how much premium that's going to fetch you? How many people will buy that? That is the brand value I am talking about, which is the intangible asset. Although it's a product that you are selling, what brings value to this product is the brand value of that product. Brand value which is created over years. Your grandfather would have used Dettol, your father would have used Dettol, you are using Dettol, and your son will use Dettol. Is it not?
Yeah.
So, the brand values are built over a period of time, although it's a product. Take Coca-Cola.
100 years.
Take Coca-Cola. What is the worth of that solution? Yeah, what do you pay for? You pay for Coca-Cola.
Water and gas.
You see, what I'm trying to say is, even though it's a manufactured product, even though you may need a machinery to make those things, but still, in the present world, what matters most is the people who run those things and people who create the brand value of that product. Now what is the implication of this? For you, if you were to be a CEO then and now, what is the implication for you? Think about it. What is the implication?
In today's world, it's all people driven. Yeah, more and
Exactly. So now you need to manage the intangible assets, which is mostly people. Much more focus on intangible assets like people today than what it was 20 years back. 20 years back, we just had to manage your machinery, your land, etc., etc. Is it not? Now, machinery, land, etc. are much easier to manage. Do you agree? As compared to human beings. Human beings are complex. Their motivation level fluctuates every minute. Their performance fluctuates every minute. Their contribution fluctuates. They are here today, tomorrow they are somewhere else. So, the challenge for you today as a general manager or as a CEO is much more because of the component of particularly the human resource. You create value in the organization using human resource. And managing human resource is, most of you have already experienced it, is quite tricky. Even at your own home, managing a maid is one of the biggest challenges your wife has. Managing one person. Managing one person, she has the biggest challenge. Ask your wife what's the biggest challenge. Managing the maid, she will say. So imagine a place like TCS having more than 2 lakh employees spread all over the world. What's the kind of challenge that they have? So what I'm trying to stress is, in the modern era, whether you are in a manufacturing unit or in a service sector, it is the people who create value. And to get more value out of them, you need to manage them. You need to manage them, you need to lead them, you need to get the best out of them. So how do you do that? What are the various things that you have to manage this enormous pool of talent that's in your grasp? Right? So these are the questions that you need to start thinking about when you want to get to the next level. Typically what happens in an organization is, I'm focused on what I do, I'm a technical expert, I'm focused on what I do, so my focus is pretty much on that. That's an important part. Nobody says it's an unimportant part in the organization. You must do your coding, you must treat your patients. That's one aspect of it. But there are much bigger, larger aspects. In my view, more complex aspects. This one is in your control, is it not? You know how to code, you know how to treat a patient, you know what injection to give, you know all that. You have studied it. It's in your control. But how do you manage a nurse? It's not in your control many times. Agree with me?
Yes, sir.
One ground rule that fixes here. Let's switch off all our mobiles or keep it on silent so that we don't get disturbed. Yeah. So the key point I wanted to make was the importance of human resource management to all aspects of starting managing an organization. So that's what I wanted to talk about. And whenever I talk more from the perspective of an organization perspective. So you might wonder, why is this guy talking all this kind of stuff? It's not HR. No, everything is HR. I might talk about earnings per share. Have you heard of earnings per share? I might talk about earnings per share. You might say, what HRM and earnings per share has got to do. So I'm all over the place with respect to because my interest is to give you a feel for the organization, and of course HRM. You need to know the key concepts. So we are going to do all that. Right? So I'm going to take a pause. Any comments? Any